in Chautauqua. You got people coming across the bridge. From Venus Point, without their passports, I don't know. I was out in California not long ago, talking to a friend of mine. Congress took up immigration, the media reported. I can think of half the Congress I'd like to see deported. A temporary worker plan seems to be in order. Who else can we get to build the fence along the border? We sent 6,000 troops down there. They'll be the nation's pride, especially if the Mexicans turn out to be Al-Qaeda. English is our language here, officially, well, nearly, though it's often mangled by our president severely. Next issue, domestic surveillance by the National Security Agency, the NSA, Americans spying on Americans. May I play devil's advocate and point out that we are at war and we must stamp out the dreaded Quaker, Amish, Al-Qaeda alliance? You say they didn't have warrants. They broke the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. Well, let me ask you something. If the Fourth Amendment is broken in an empty forest, will Justice Scalia make a sound? Well, as it happened, we first learned about this last December during the Christmas holiday. During the holiday. So I can now tell you, that the night before Christmas I was not alone. A spy dressed like Santa was tapping my phone. An NSA Santa was bugging my tree. With the NSA, who needs the old KGB? Hey Santa, I cried, where's your warrant, old man? He said, take that warrant and shove it if you can. I'll go where I please with shot of the law. In case you don't know it, I'm above the law. So Santa went home and removed his disguise and revealed his true self. And it was no surprise that braving and entering jolly Saint Nick was in fact Grumpy Cheney, our very own Dick. That way you picked up those of you who were here on the wrong night and were expecting Hootie and the Blowfish. These are song parodies. I steal other people's music. Just call me Google. And I have other words. This next melody was written over 100 years ago by the British composers W.S. Gilbert and Sir Arthur Sullivan. Any Gilbert and Sullivan fans here? Good. However, Gilbert and Sullivan knew nothing about the American Supreme Court and what has transpired there in the last year. As we salute a lady who is revered all over the country, particularly here in Chautauqua, where she visits from time to time. And I'm talking about Sandra O'Connor, a woman of honor, gave her notice last July. When Rehnquist departed to that big Supreme Court in the sky. So she patiently waited while Congress debated about John Roberts and his qualifiers. When he was confirmed, conservatives squirmed over someone named Harriet Miers. She's the greatest, said Bush, so let's give her a push on the course. She will be a redeemer. Well, we had her praise like that since the days of Brownie, that loser at FEMA. The right cried baloney. The woman's a crony on the law. She's dumb as a post. Well, then we all knew when the wackos were through, poor Harriet Miers would be toast. Saigon was looking through rose-colored glasses. So avoiding a veto, he gave them Alito while kissing the right-winger's asses. Said Alito's opponents, he was a proponent of consent regarding a spouse. In Planned Parenthood case, it was so prima facie. Forget that the spouse is a louse. When the hearings were done and Alito had won for the liberals, there'd be no more squawking. So it's all to rejoice, except for one lonely voice. To himself, Joe Biden still talking. So it's all to rejoice, except for one lonely voice. Except for Joe Biden still talking. Nothing in Politics 101. Politics 101 is when the members of Congress say to the lobbyists, the special interest groups, send us to Congress, and we're going to pass laws that are going to make you money. And all you got to do is kick back some of that money so we can run again in 2 years and pass more laws that are going to make more money. And then take some of that money and kick back laws. Re-elect them. Pass more laws, make more money. The title of the song is obvious. It's called Perpetual Motion. Send us to Congress and we will pass laws and we'll make you more money, and then take some of that money, give it back to us to re-elect us again. Then back in the Congress will pass more laws to please you just right at the start. This perpetual motion will go on forever till death or reform to us part. It's a beautiful system, a cozy arrangement. Don't dare to call it a scam. We're all on our knees, the envelope please, the rest of the public be damned. Like street-walking chicks, we're all turning tricks, laying down on the job for the nation. So send us to Congress and we will pass laws for your guaranteed gratification. Come on, drink hardy, it goes on in both parties, we're all beyond the pale. Lift up a rock, there's delay at his flock, Clinton's Lincoln bedroom for sale. It's a quid pro quo, or didn't you know? Play the game and you'll never be slighted. Reform is a joke and we'll never go broken. With luck we will go unindicted. Reform is a joke and we'll never go broken. With luck we will go unindicted. Next issue, very, very controversial. Stem cell research. Ooh. Well, what the heck kind of song is he going to sing about stem cell research? Well, let's begin at the beginning. Life begins when the male sperm unites with the female egg to form an embryo in the uterus. Have you heard about this? Due to circumstances beyond their control, not all of the embryos are living inside. Some of them are living outside in laboratories. I'm told there are 40,000 of them. Well, they're not all going to be adopted. You know, people are. They'll ask questions. Where does he come from? Where's people? Do they live around here? I'd like to explain this in scientific terms that I trust will not be too technical. I wish I was a sperm. United with an egg, hanging out in the uterus, growing arms and legs. But if I live outside, I still have my pride, used for curing sick folks who might otherwise have died. But the holy men say no, they made a political slap. They're full of sanctimony and they're also full of crap. Why don't they let me and my eggs serve humanity? If Jesus Christ could heal the sick, then why, oh, why can't we? About us, it's about our grandchildren 50 years from now. But in 50 years from now, when our grandchildren are cussing us out, we'll be dead. But it'll be a happy death. Now that Viagra is covered under Medicare. Good news for seniors. The joy of sex is out in large type print. The whole law says that if a drug is approved by the Food and Drug Administration and it is medically necessary, it must be covered. Therefore, it is medically necessary for Grandpa to start hanging out in singles bars with Rush Limbaugh. V is for virility for Grandpa. I means intercourse at 94. A is for his animal behavior. G. Grandma says go find yourself a whore. R means let's repeal the silly coverage. A, although in Florida they're obsessed. Put them all together, it's Viagra. Grandpa smiled when he was laid to rest. Now we turn back the clock. 3 years and 4 months the president is at work, very busy in the war room of the White House, making big plans for the next day. It's called liberation. Get me to the mosque on time. I know exactly the location for every hidden weapon to be had. In a matter of hours, they'll welcome us with flowers. I have a shorter war than my dad. Everyone will be surprised when I found out I won a Nobel Prize for peace. P-I-E-C-E. This is it, the latest information, the newest intelligence on hand. Iraqis never threatened, they never had the weapon. Change of plan, we're off to Iran. Whoops, wrong country. Change of plan, we're off to Iran. Where's the Shah? Change of plan, we're off to Iran. North Korea, wait your turn. We're off to Iran. Said his best about Iraq recently. He said nobody said it would be easy, and nobody was right. The key word is liberation. Yes, we liberated the Iraqis from Saddam, water, and electricity. But it wasn't the kind of liberation they had in World War II. I mean, you look at those old newsreels from that war. Our troops marched into Paris, and they were greeted with open arms by the French women. Some of them married them and brought them home. You know, they're called war brides. You know, if this was liberation in Iraq, we'd have Iraqi war brides by now. Mom, Dad. This is Fatima. Hi. This thing has spawned so many hearings and investigations and congressional hearings and all of this, including the horrible abuses in Abu Ghraib prison, stacking naked bodies on top of each other, forcing them to have sex, dragging them across the floor by a leash, and a sign on Donald Rumsfeld's desk that says the buck doesn't stop anywhere near here. Abuses described by the eminent moral theologian Rush Limbaugh, who at the time said about Abu Ghraib, well, that's nothing worse than a college prank. Where did Rush go to college? Let's face it, if the liberals were in power, those horrible photographs from Abu Ghraib would be funded by the National Endowment for the Arts. Many investigations, many commissions. There was a September 11th commission. Remember, that was the one where Bush and Cheney appeared together. They insisted they appear together for the same reason that Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. I'm sorry. Edgar Bergen was a ventriloquist. It's okay. No reason for you to McCarthy, of course, the infamous senator from Wisconsin. McCarthyism, which any college student can tell you. And so the big issue in the presidential election 2 years ago was the war in Vietnam and John Kerry's participation in it. And you could say he sealed his political doom with the quote that continues to haunt him when he said, well, yes, I voted for the war 2 years ago, but if I knew then, would I know now? Would I have voted for it? You betcha. I voted for it, not to have it. I voted to fund it before I voted to wage it. I voted to have it and to wage it, but not to fight it. See, to fight it and to wage it is not the same. To fund it. Why is that, Yogi? So what all of this is really is a time capsule of life in the United States in the first decade of the 21st century, a scene that could never have been imagined by the founders of our country. They couldn't imagine what life would be like today with all of the technology and the politics today, where you could go on eBay and purchase a congressman. They couldn't understand the phrases we keep coining in our language. Outsourcing, where you dial 911, you get a lady in India. Where are you calling from? Lake Chautauqua, New York. Wine in the Amphitheater is the devil's handiwork. No more Sadie J's. Bummer. She's plugged into our culture and she's in India, but she really wants you to think that she's in America. Isn't that interesting? Columbus wound up in America, but he was really looking for India. I think Columbus was onto something. So Columbus goes back to the Spanish court of Ferdinand and Isabella. They say, Chris, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be out discovering. I forgot my Discover card. That's a crappy joke, Chris. Did you discover India? No. I discovered America. That doesn't sound good, Chris. You gotta discover India. Otherwise, we got no place to outsource to. He says, yeah, but I also discovered the world is round. You discover the world is round. Well, isn't that great? Doesn't do us any good, Chris. Without a global positioning system. And the only ones smart enough to invent one are in India. Founders couldn't imagine any of that, you know. Couldn't imagine the advancement we made in the field of medicine. People are living longer than ever before. I saw one statistic said the year 2020. That year alone, 115,000 Americans will reach the age of 100, and they will all have valid Florida driver's licenses. Medicine, and some of it is ridiculous. It makes no sense at all. It comes under the heading of politically correct, which we'll talk about a little later, but I mean, you know, caregivers. What is a caregiver? It's oppression. And caregiving. I remember when caregivers were doctors. When acid reflux was heartburn. When men didn't have to take Levitra to throw a football through a tire swing. And if after 4 hours, the football is still inflated. Thomas Jefferson realized that in 200 years, his DNA would match the DNA of those who traced their roots back to Jefferson's mistress and slave, Sally Hemings. Now, I like to think that that means that Al Gore and Al Sharpton are cousins. Thomas Jefferson realized that in 200 years the democracy that he helped forge would spread all over the world, some places slower than others, some places painfully slowly in forlorn spots. Like Iraq, where 3 years ago we saw our forces tear down the statue of the depraved dictator Saddam Hussein, only to be told by his Minister of Information that it was a statue of Saddam's double. The forces did not do it alone. They had help from the coalition of the willing. 42 countries, 3 of which have an army. Poland sent 1,000 troops. Guyana sent a steel drum band. Bulgaria made the casserole. And our staunchest ally over there has been Great Britain with over 10,000 troops, which caused a lot of trouble at home for Prime Minister Tony Blair, who's been depicted by the tabloid British press as, quote, Bush's lapdog. That is not nice. Last time Tony Blair was at the White House as a diplomatic courtesy, they let him up on the couch. This war started House 4 bought the whole story. And I think most of us are, we understand, we're confused. We didn't think we'd go on this long. By the way, next November, it'll be as long as our participation in World War II. I know we can't pull out. I know that. We pull out of Iraq now, and that whole country will be overrun with Iraqis. They got a democracy. Good. That's great. That means you have democracy, you got a parliament, you got a prime minister. When they elect a prime minister, I try not to get too attached to him. And we told him, we said, you don't have to have American-style democracy, just have your own style democracy. That's great. Have your own. Do your own democracy. Because if it was an American-style democracy, let's face it, the mayor of Baghdad would give the paving contract to his brother-in-law. So I bought the whole package. Bought it all. The President's State of the Union address, 2003, the controversial 16 words. Remember that 16 words to the effect that Saddam had purchased enriched uranium from an African country. I believe he said it was Brazil. I bought the report of the Senate Intelligence Committee. I know that's an oxymoron, Senate Intelligence. And they told us the source of all of this information. It came from an asset over there, an Iraqi citizen whose code name was Curveball. Curveball. I'm not making that up. Everything else up to now, yes, but I'm not making it up. And Curveball gave the wrong information to our people over there, and then they gave it to CIA Director George Tenet, and George Tenet gave it to Colin Powell, and Colin Powell delivered the United Nations speech, and to this day, he admits that it was the most embarrassing thing in his career, and the president was so upset with George Tenet that he gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So I bought all of that. Now, the highlight, the greatest, that they found Saddam, and that was wonderful. They found it. How symbolic. Hiding in a hole. He comes crawling out of his hole. He saw a shadow. said we were going to have 4 more years of Bush. Did Saddam have chemical weapons? Yes. How do we know? We still have the receipts. The question was, did the CIA doctor the intelligence when the president had absolutely no intelligence of his own? Now, that's a play on words. You know, it was like one time in the Iran-Contra crisis, and they asked Ronald Reagan, he said, Mr. President, did CIA Director William Casey carry on covert operations without you knowing about it? Reagan answered, not to my knowledge. Say to you the national anthem of one of our greatest allies in the Middle East. We're the birthplace of Bin Laden, our prominent family. Our women are contented living in slavery. We sing America's friendship, we know your country well. It's a friendship measured in gallons of Exxon, Mobil, and Shell. Trumpy, Saudi Arabian, we got friends in Washington. All of them are lobbying, they get the spinning done with the help of lies and bribery and PR all the way. Have you heard the news? We love the Jews, God bless the USA. We're the kingdom of Saudi Arabia where nobody is free, proudly supporting terror with our royalty. So America, please love us and let there be no feud. We've got you over a barrel of imported Saudi crude. Proudly Saudi Arabian, support us, won't you try? Hardly a dictatorship as Arabian as apple pie. The prince is grateful to America, his check is on the way. When you fill your tanks, we all give thanks. God bless the USA. When you fill your tanks, we all give thanks. God bless the USA. Lining up against us, as I said, Germany, France, Russia, China, the Dixie Chicks, and the Pope. Then came the French bashing. French fries became freedom fries. French toast became freedom toast. And the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Dennis Hastert, was quoted as saying that French red wine contains cow's blood. I don't want to know what the white wine contains. Because Germany refused to join the coalition. Not me, who made pacifists out of the Germans. We did by defeating them twice. I say keep them on their medication, for God's sake. Because the worst case scenario would have been that Germany joined the coalition, headed toward Iraq, made a sudden left turn, and invaded Poland for old time's sake. When the regime fell over there, we said to the Iraqi people, look, don't make the same mistake again. Don't set up some theocratic government run by a bunch of religious zealots. Why not? It works here. Best case scenario, a parody on a song you Irish Americans will recognize. Well, many years ago, he left his family in Iraq. And he traveled to America in a place called Hackensack. He started up a business of fleet and taxi cabs, and eventually grew homesick for his home in old Baghdad. And when he got back home again and it changed from A to Z, his family gathered around him. And this is what they said. Shake hands with your Uncle Mohammed, and here's your sister Aziz, your brother Al Jazeera's working down at Chuck E. Cheese. Cousin Fatia works at Starbucks here in the new regime. And at Victoria's Secret is your old girlfriend, Salim. Well, the prodigal son could not believe on the place had come alive. His friends all flocked around him, giving them high fives. Shake hands with our brand new mayor. From America he came. We just call him Rudy. Giuliani is his name. And here's our brand new synagogue we built when we disarmed. El Al has daily flights now that Saddam has bought the farm. And here's our Ben and Jerry's. There's a flavor there for you. Iraq has a new motto. This button's for you. We'll declare a legal holiday. March the 7th. 17th. But the Shiites and the Sunnis will